Okay, so cool. Welcome to Ruthless Obsession.
It's it's going to be a little less ruthless this time because
It's different.
yeah, Kevin's not here, so we
Yeah.
won't have anyone to play the square this time. So if we don't have typically how these things go, you have to have someone that kind of is a little, more square, and I think Kevin really fits that role pretty well. And then you have someone that really just adds life and entertainment to the party, which is me. And it's hard to like just have all go and no, squareness. So
Well, that's
Andrew,
fair. Maybe I can play the role of squared today.
that's perfect. Okay.
So so we don't have like a huge agenda for today. I know that we have a couple things that we want to touch on. So I say we get right on into it to the Power 5 for this week.
I think that sounds like a fantastic idea. This week's matchups, there's some really good and intriguing matchups. Now that we're getting into what's this week 4 now, so like we kind of know a little bit more about each of the teams. We know who kind of stinks out of the gate, who's really good out of the gate. Like we've actually seen enough to make some good predictions now, and so I'm pretty excited about some of the matchups. So I know, 2 out of the 4 of us aren't here, but we've got picks of some, and we'll make our picks now. So, Drew, let's start off with what I think is probably the most entertaining and the most intriguing game this week, and it's the Cardinals at the Rams. And our picks here are the Rams -6, which for two high offensive teams, -6, that's pretty big. That's a pretty big
That's a big
spread.
deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
So I actually I'm favoring the Rams. Um, I think that they're going to be able to do it because the thing is you picked a lot of interesting games because you picked like most of them were you have to win by a touchdown, and I thought that that was pretty entertaining. I was like, do I think that the Rams could win by a touchdown? And I really do. I think that Stafford and Cooper Cup are just really good together. Um, and even though like the Cardinals have a very high-powered offense as well, I think that the Rams are just playing all around like really good so far. Like their defense, I think, is a little bit better than the Cardinals' defense. So that's why I'm gonna pick the Rams. Um, what about you?
That's pretty sound analysis there. I have to say the Rams look like the best team in football. Obviously, beating the reigning defending Super Bowl champions last week at home in it was a good game, but they beat them pretty well. I mean,
They
it
feed
was
well.
yeah, they beat them well at home. That's tough. It looks for forever the Rams just needed a quarterback, and Jared Goff stunk. Let's be honest, he was not. I mean, he's the reason why they lost that Super Bowl. And
Yep.
they got to the Super Bowl despite Jared Goff in a lot of ways. So having someone like a Matt Stafford now to run that team, let's just watch out.
Yeah,
And that
they're
stadium,
dangerous.
oh, they're dangerous. And that stadium in LA, that crowd can get behind. That's team that's really good. You
Mhm.
have the star power there. Like I mean, geez, you have you know Ted Lasso was there cheering them on last weekend. So
Yeah, it's
it's really hard to
crazy.
see. What it's hard to see despite the high flying Cardinals offense. It's hard to see the Rams losing even by a touchdown. Or I mean, Rams losing this, and I think they can cover the spread pretty easily. So I'm going to go Rams too.
All right.
And I'll read off Kevin's picks too, just because I'm sure that our listeners are really curious of what Kevin would choose. And we don't have the picks from Nick just yet, but Kevin also took the Rams in this matchup
And
as
we
well.
also
So
don't have the Y for Kevin. So
we don't. And you
that
know
is
what?
the
Honestly, we don't need the Y in
we
in
don't.
many ways. We don't need it. We don't need it. It's all
uh,
right. So let's move on to the next one. Let's talk. Let's talk about this other matchup, which I also find very intriguing. The Baltimore Ravens at Denver. Denver's actually the favorites here, -1.5.
I'm
What do you think about that?
surprised. I am very surprised that they're the favorites. Um, I think that I think that the Ravens could at least win by a field goal, let alone like to
I
say that
mean,
they should be the not the favorite here.
I
Um,
mean, Justin Tucker, 66 yards. I mean, holy crap, man.
yeah, like you know. So I gotta say that I'm gonna put faith in that leg, and I'm gonna pick the Ravens here. I just don't. I don't think Denver is that impressive, and I know that the Ravens offense can score points. Like we've seen that so far, that they can put up some points. I know that their defense is kind of a little lackluster, but I don't see the Broncos putting up as many points as like the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Like it's just not going to play out that well for Denver, I don't think.
Yeah, I totally see what you're saying. I mean, it's an intriguing matchup because it's Denver Broncos at home. Denver's undefeated, which 3-0. I mean, it's hard to go 3-0 and be a bad team, you know what I mean? Like, but then you look at who they've played. Okay, so they've played the Giants, who are they've played the Jaguars, who are really bad, and they've played the Jets. So like they've done they've done a good job of beating bad teams, but
Beating the
they've
teams they're expected to beat.
yeah, but really facing a tough team like the Ravens, it's a home game, but I have to believe that Baltimore is going to pull this out -1.5. I think they can win by a field goal. They can win by 2 points. I think
Yeah.
Baltimore is going to win this game, and so I got to go with Baltimore.
And I think Kevin went Baltimore here too.
Kevin went Baltimore as well. So
So, yeah.
we'll see what happens. See what happens.
This next one's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so this is the Patriots versus oh crap, who are they playing? The
New
Buccaneers.
England, the New England Patriots against the Tampa Bay
Yeah.
Buccaneers. It's great.
So
Brady at home.
yeah, he's gonna break the passing record like against New England. Is that what it's shaping up to be? Or
Potentially
you
in his
know,
home in his former home stadium again in a prime time game. Like it's the Sunday night game, as a matter of fact.
I don't think you can bet against Brady here. I really don't.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
I mean, I think that Brady's gonna come out and be like, "Hey, this is what you could have had. We could have had, more Super Bowls. We could have kept doing it, and you guys just decided to pass on me. So, I'm gonna take my team that I've assembled over the past 2 years, and I'm gonna ram it right through your face. Just let's go. So yeah, I don't think you can bet against Brady here. Um,
No, no way. And not only just Brady, but like the Tampa Bay team, that roster from top to bottom just has better players than New England right
yeah,
now.
I
They're
think they're gonna
they're
have Antonio Brown back this week. I think he's coming off of the COVID list. So I mean, it's just adding another weapon back to Brady's lineup. Like that's the thing is, even without him, they do fine. I mean, they don't even need him. But
he's their fourth best pass catcher on
yeah,
the team.
it's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy. So yeah, I'm going Tampa Bay too. I think you are. I think Kevin is as well. Yeah.
yeah, I believe so. Um, in the next game, Steelers versus Packers. Oh, see, this is a hard one for me because um, if my logic from last week holds true, it's that the Steelers will probably win this game. And I don't want to say that because I hate the Steelers and I'm a Packers fan, but like the Steelers tend to just beat teams that they aren't supposed to beat, and they lose to teams they aren't supposed to lose to. That was exactly why I picked the Bengals over the Steelers. But honestly, they just look so bad right now. They don't look good. So I'm gonna go against my better logic and pick my Packers here, and I'm gonna say that they can. This is a big spread. They're favored by 6.5 here, which the Packers have not looked that great, but neither have the Steelers. So I'm gonna say Aaron Rodgers, please don't make me look like an idiot here. But I think
Win
that
by a
they,
touchdown.
yeah, I think that they can win by a touchdown and not one of those cheeky. Like, how do you just win by a field goal here against San Francisco? All four of us were like, there's no doubt in my mind that the Packers are going to win this game. And here they are almost losing. It's just like so disappointing right now for this year. So I'm hoping that they can beat the Steelers by a touchdown. I hope they destroy the Steelers because I don't like the Steelers. But, it's just the Steelers are a tricky team to predict, honestly.
You are right that they are a tricky team to predict. I mean, they are the same team that beat the Bills, who look just absolutely like they're on fire now
Yeah.
after losing to the Steelers at home. You know, first off, I just have to say, last Sunday was a great day. Everyone was expecting the Bengals to get trounced. Heck, I even picked it last week because just I was worried about it. Just
You gotta
thought,
believe, man.
probably not. Huh?
You gotta believe, man.
Listen, when Ohio-based sports fans live in reality because you just have to. You
You
know what I
gotta.
mean? You have to. There's no blind optimism in most Ohio sports. So being realistic, it was a very pleasant surprise. Not only did the Bengals just go in and just stomp on the Steelers at home in their second home game of the season. They now have won 2 straight against Pittsburgh, which is also awesome because they beat them at home last year.
And they looked
But on top of
good.
that,
They looked
but
good
on top
doing
of
it.
that, but on top of that, the Bengals and the Bengals offensive line that has had all the hate, all the struggles. I've been critical of them. They're still a work in progress, but they snapped the Steelers' 75 game sack streak. The Bengals offensive line, out of all the offensive lines in the last 75 games that the Steelers faced, the Bengals were the ones that ended the streak. That is something to be proud of right there.
Yeah, that's
That is
awesome there.
because I was so sick of heck, for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been hearing Scott Hansen on Sundays talk about that sack streak. And every time that TJ Watt or whoever gets another sack, he'd say, all right, well, there's 56 weeks in a row now the Steelers have gotten a sack. Not anymore. Now they have to go at least a full season for that is even a noteworthy thing now.
Yeah,
And
they have
that's
to
all
go back to
thanks to
square
the Bengals.
zero.
Yeah, exactly. So that being said, recapping the Bengals' just mighty triumphant victory and the shambles that the Steelers or this team looked like they were in last week. I mean, that last few plays, they were just dropping. You could tell that they just wanted to get off the field because they were so embarrassed. It was amazing. Now, for this game, though, playing in Lambeau Field, the Steelers, like you said, they typically will play up to teams and they play down to teams. And I think that they're very much going to play up to the Green Bay Packers, who have shown signs of greatness, goodness, whatever, but also shown signs of some serious issues too. I think that Green Bay is probably going to win this game, but I think Pittsburgh is going to cover the spread. So I'm going Pittsburgh.
That's fair. That's fair. I think that that's very sound. I just think that honestly, like Big Ben looks like he's just crumbling back there, and I think that that's hilarious.
I love it.
Yeah, I there was like on Twitter I saw a play of he like tried to just run forward like 3 steps and he just like fell over. Nobody he was like the air tackled him or whatever. Like he just looked like he was flopping around back there. He looks like a fish out of water. And it's just I don't know. I'm just glad that the Steelers are doing so
This, this,
poorly.
I mean, look, if it's a long season, they could go on a 6-game winning
Oh
streak, and this
yeah.
is a whole different narrative for sure. But I will say, I mean, it's right now is shaping up to be some just amazing poetic justice for what we've had to endure living in Pittsburgh under the Roethlisberger reign for so long. To see this arrogant, smug, cocky dude now think that he's still 28 years old and is actually 39 years old, thinks that he's like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers that can perform at a high level at this age. Absolutely not be able to do
Yeah,
that.
he
I mean, the
just
dude can't
can't.
throw. He's too fat. I mean, he's not taking all the vitamins that Tom Brady is. I can tell you that.
That's very
He's
true.
he's enjoying life with
You
the burgers and the beers and the hot dogs and all whatever. And he can't play football at 39 years old doing that.
No, if you just compare the jawline of Tom Brady versus the jawline of Big Ben, you'll see a few, like, I want to say like 3 or 4 extra chins on one of those. So, it's just not great
That's
for
right.
Big Ben. He's
Not
living up
great for
to the
Big Ben.
name.
And I can't think, if last year sitting there and seeing him just cry on the sidelines of an empty stadium as the Cleveland Browns knocked him out of the playoffs. If that's not going to be the end of Ben Roethlisberger, because that was a great poetic ending for him to retire right there, the next best thing is seeing him just get slung through the mud all season long, and the entire Pittsburgh fan base turns on him and is excited for him to retire. That, to me, is just the fittingest end for Ben Roethlisberger. So I'm sure that we just jinxed it, and he's going to have a MVP year from here on out. But if it continues this way, I think we'll be pretty happy.
I was about to say, just look at him, MVP. He's fallen over. He can't do MVP quality stuff. Okay, I think Kevin also picked Green Bay here, like me. So I think me and Kevin are actually going to be pretty close this week. The last one you had here was the Browns Vikings. Browns -1.5. I don't think there's a question in my mind that the Browns are going to win this game. I think that they look really good this year. I I just don't see how they lose to the Vikings. Um, yeah, I mean, there's not even a lot of like hardcore analysis. Their backfield is just so good, and their defense is awesome. So I don't see it. I don't see the Vikings being able to come in and like embarrass the Browns here. I just don't.
I am going to take a different path on this, okay? So I will say that the Browns, while you could make a really good argument that they're the better team, I mean, you could. I mean, they beat up on the Bears pretty well last week. They took care of business with the Texans. They're still kind of back and forth here and there most of the time. They're a decent team. But you know what? The Minnesota Vikings are almost the exact same team. They really are. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings, they lost really close to the Bengals, and the Bengals now proven that, hey, they're not a bad team. We're 2-1, first place in the division. So they lost to the division-leading Cincinnati Bengals, which they lost this close to the Cardinals, who are currently undefeated. I mean, they were 1 point loss. There was a last-minute field goal that they I think they missed to lose that game. And then they beat the Seahawks. Who the Seahawks? I mean, they're a pretty darn good team. They crushed them pretty well. That offense is moving with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. With the running back situation, Dalvin Cook was out last week, but Alexander Mattison still was able to put up some great numbers against the Seahawks defense. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be it's at home in Minnesota. I think that Minnesota is actually going to win this one. So I'm going to go Minnesota.
Okay, wow. No, I mean, I think that right now I'm in the lead in the standings, if we're being honest here. I think Kevin also picked Cleveland, by the way. We'll just throw that
Kevin
out.
did pick. Kevin did put. Of course he would. I wouldn't expect, and that's not a shot. I would expect him to too.
Yeah, I mean the spread's close enough where I think he would not be super pessimistic about that. But I do think that right now I'm leading. I think I'm 10-5, which honestly I'm pretty impressed that I'm 10-5 if that's the case.
Yeah. You and I went 4-1 last week, so
Yeah.
we did pretty good.
It's that big brain plays.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this time. So
yeah. So that wraps up Power 5.
You want to do the helmets now before we stick with football before we switch to anything else?
Yeah, might as well. I'm in the hole for 2. I'm having terrible luck. I've lost every helmet so far.
You're due for a win, man.
I am due for a win. So why don't you go ahead and pick me first?
Okay, I'll get you first.
Okay.
Here's the bucket.
All right, no whammies this time. We got to do it. No whammies. Stop.
You got Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals are playing on Thursday against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm keeping the Bengals.
Oh, hooday, baby!
Jacksonville is going to get torched. Awesome.
They're playing in Cincinnati, so that's not a bad one.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
All right, I'll go next. I unfortunately I threw away the Tennessee Titans last week to just risk it again to see what happens. and I got the New York Jets, which was an awful mistake for me because the Titans end up winning, and the Jets did not.
Yeah.
So I now have a punishment that I'm going to have to endure at some point in the future, which I'm not looking forward to. But I'm hoping that maybe today I can keep the general good trends going of me not getting so.
Awesome. Let's see here.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, the Chiefs.
Now, this unfortunately isn't as sure of a thing as it was in the past, because the Chiefs are 1-2, but they are playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week in Philadelphia.
And I think they just signed Josh Gordon.
They did just sign Josh Gordon too,
which I'm excited for that. I picked him up on fantasy. I'm ready for this.
That is such an Andrew fantasy football ad. Yes, I love it.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I mean, the Chargers they beat the Browns, lost to the Ravens real close, lost to the Chargers last week, which was unexpected. I think this is going to be a comeback game for them. They could beat the Eagles. If they don't beat the Eagles, the Chargers are going to have some serious issues. So I'm sticking, not the Chargers, the Chiefs. So yeah. I'm sticking with the Chiefs here.
Okay, that's fair.
That'll be me. All right, now here's where it gets fun. And we got to choose for Kevin, and we got to choose for Nick. You know how many has Nick's been safe this entire time?
Nick has been safe so far.
Wow, I should be pulling Nick stuff for myself. All right, so we should do Nick first. Okay?
Yeah, do Nick first. That's fine.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, it's crazy that he's safe so far.
Nick gets free pass.
Are you going to be kidding me?
I think this might be one of the first extra helmets that have the bonus things on here. I don't know if you can see that very well.
Yeah, I mean, I did draw the double punishment before it was a rule that you can't put it back. So it's as we did alter the rules a little bit on the Hell'Met. There's a couple special ones in there. Nick gets the free pass this week. So he's going to keep that streak alive of not having to do anything. But there is a double punishment in there, and the rule just got changed, I think, within the last 24 hours, that if you draw double punishment, you got to keep it, and you can't put it back. So that's kind of mildly terrifying. But let's draw for Kevin.
I don't know where it is here, I promise. If he gets it, it really would be just a weird coincidence, even though he'll totally believe that we planted it since we just talked about it.
He can watch the show back. Oh, man. Okay.
The Green Bay Packers.
Okay, so...
Okay, now they're playing at home against the Steelers. Kevin did take the Packers to cover the spread.
And they were favored, so he would...
They were favorite. So it would probably be an objectively, thank you. Objectively, it would be probably it'd be what he would do. He would keep it.
Okay. Oh, Kevin, that's funny. So yeah, okay. Now we can switch gears here a little bit. It's our favorite sports last week of the regular season. So we've got the two baseball guys on today, so it's only fitting that we talk a little bit of baseball. What a whirlwind our two teams are in right now. So
it's crazy, Drew. It's crazy.
We're both in about the same position as far as what we need to happen right now. You actually need the Phillies to sweep the Braves, right?
They are 2.5 out right now, and the Braves have that extra game, so we basically need to sweep.
You got to sweep the Braves.
We can afford. I mean, the Phillies can afford potentially one loss because they've got I think 3 or 4. Let me check the schedule here. I think they have 3 or 4 games against the Marlins afterwards. They have 3 games. Okay, so so the Phillies. Let me just start from the beginning. The Phillies are 2.5 games out from Atlanta. They're playing Atlanta starting tonight for the next 3 nights, must-win games, absolutely. And then they finish the weekend off at Miami. Atlanta plays the 3 home games against Philadelphia, of course, and then they finish out their regular season. I believe yes, it's at home against the New York Mets, who, while the Mets, are definitely eliminated out of it, maybe they'll play for some bragging rights or something. I don't know. Either way, the next 3 days for the Philadelphia Phillies are make or break. If they drop 2, it's over. They're eliminated. If they win all 3, they still need to keep the heat on against Miami, but they'd be looking pretty good. They'd be tied, and they'd be in control of their own destiny going into the last series of the game. So big week. The Phillies have everything lined up. They've got their 3 best pitchers set up against Atlanta. They're going to go Wheeler tonight, Aaron Nola tomorrow, and then Gibson on Thursday against Charlie Morton, Fried, and Anderson for Atlanta. So this basically is the first round of the playoffs for all intents and purposes for the NL East. So, Drew, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the West. What's going
Well,
on
so
there?
the West is just about exactly the same, just with about 20 more wins on the top 2 teams. So, the Dodgers just won their 100th game against the D-backs on Sunday, and so they play the Padres in a 3-game series starting tonight, and that is at home. And then I believe they are away playing the Brewers for their last series. Or no, they're home
No
for the
kid.
Brewers. So they have a pretty tough lineup for their remaining 6 games. Whereas um, the San Francisco Giants, who are currently up by 2 games, I believe they are playing. It might be. Oh crap! Who are they playing? I'll look it up.
Let's
Um,
look at this real quick.
they are playing the D-backs, who are not great, for the series starting tonight, I believe, and they end the season against the Padres. So I need the Padres to underperform in this series against the Dodgers, and then even though they're already eliminated, I need them to way overperform and kick the crap out of San Francisco, which I don't see that really happening. So
I mean, the tough thing for the Dodgers' perspective is that they're 2 games out still. So
yeah,
and if it was tied right now, I would say, all right, there's some chances things could happen here where maybe the Dodgers win out and the Giants drop a game, but they're gonna basically have to drop 2 or 3 games, and
yeah,
then the Dodgers are gonna need to win out for that to happen. How about the kind of tough? Now against the Brewers, while that is definitely not a favorable matchup, the Brewers don't have anything to play for. That last
yeah. They're
series. So
already in.
they're already
Um,
in. There's no wild card considerations. There's no
yeah,
really seeding consider. They are gonna be the number 2 seed no matter what,
yeah.
basically. So it would from a playoff management perspective, it might behoove the Brewers to maybe sit some of their starting pitchers, or maybe not. Maybe they'll rest up and get their bullpen right, or the rotation right for the playoff series.
Yeah, it's
So
possible.
they jockey things around. Maybe they're not giving it their all. Maybe the Dodgers are definitely giving it their all. Maybe they sweep them, and it
Yeah,
won't be that big of a deal.
it's really just the problem that the Giants are playing 2 teams that are already out, so they have literally nothing to play for right now, not just bragging rights, pretty much. But you know what's the worst part about this is, okay, the Dodgers probably won't win first place, which, you know what, fine. They'll win the wild card. They'll have to go up against the hottest team looking in baseball right now, the Cardinals, who are on what, like a 16 or 17 game win streak. Like they're crushing it right now, making this final stretch here. And then they're going to play 1 game against the Cardinals or whatever. If they win, they still have to go face the Giants in the first round of the playoffs. So it's like, honestly, the NL West, it does not really matter who wins, because the likelihood that they are going to face in the first round is higher right now, regardless, just because of, if you go records alone, I mean they're the 2 100+ win teams in the National League. So it's looking like they're going to have to face each other, which is just like it sucks for me, but we're going to get a great series in like the first round of the playoffs, which is it's cool. Um
Potentially, but man, wouldn't that suck though if the Dodgers lose to the Cardinals in that one playoff game, and then it's a Giants Cardinals series, which I would not be excited about at all.
I mean, neither would I, but that's because I'm not really a Giants or a Cardinals fan, but I'm sure for them that'd be great. Like,
Oh yeah, that'd be
but
great for them. But
I mean,
what I the biggest rub I've got right now though is with MLB and their scheduling. I mean, why the hell would you have the Dodgers at the last series of the season? I mean, you have these two teams that are the best teams in baseball right now going neck and neck, and they haven't played each other since the beginning of September, and they're not going to play each other the rest. I mean, who scheduled that? You know what I mean? Like you
yeah.
should have they should the last 6 games of the regular season should definitely be pairing up divisional opponents based on pre expectations, whatever. It should be ending that way, not
Yeah,
with them playing Milwaukee.
it would be nice if they had like the Phillies scenario where like Philly has to go play the Braves, right? So like they got to prove right
They
now
control
that
their
they
own
can do it.
destiny.
Yeah,
They can control their, and that's the down. The Dodgers they could win the next 6 games,
and
and
it
if the
still might
Giants
not
do
matter.
too, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's like you shouldn't have that at this level, at this stage of the season. There got to be some more head-to-head games.
Yeah,
It's a little.
and I don't hate it because I'm like I'm not one of those people that actually hates the baseball system. Like I don't mind it. I don't mind the one game wild card. I think that it makes sense to have a 3 game wild card, but if you're gonna make the postseason longer, then I think it makes sense to shorten the regular season, even if it's just by like 10 games. Nothing like what our brothers think, where you cut it down to 50 game season or whatever. I think that like if you're gonna play baseball, you need to play a lot of games. It's totally fine to play more games. I don't mind. But I think that the system is not what I'm mad at. I'm more mad at the fact that like this is when we talk about like the whole every game matters thing, and you think back on like all of the different decisions that I mean, they could have easily won 2 extra games this year and been tied by this point, but there was definitely games where they threw, or like they had games where they took their starter out after 2 innings. Like who does that? It's those kind of coaching decisions and just like garbage things that happen throughout the season that I look back on and I start to think just like how annoying that is, and how like oh, if they only did like these 3 different things, they would have been fine. No, first place guaranteed, wouldn't really given a crap. I mean, that's kind of the more annoying part. I don't even. I think that the Giants have a really good team. I think they're stacked. I think that like a lot of the teams that are clearly in the postseason right now are stacked. The Rays are stacked. The Dodgers are stacked. The Giants are stacked. Even the Brewers are stacked. Like they all feel like really good powerhouse teams. I just think if you're a team like the Cardinals, where you are currently on this hot streak, and then you go in and you have one game that you have to go up against a team that you're currently like 13 games back on, even though you're like so hot right now, you're still 13 games back. It just shows the disparity in how the playoffs like could be if they just did like a full um, National League setup and like a full AL setup, whereas they have like the divisions, and so you have to win your like that's the part that I hate about all of the systems is they're all set up the same way, where you have to be good in your division only, and you might have the best record in baseball, like we got right now with the Giants and the Dodgers. They both have, top records in baseball, and one of those teams might not even make the playoffs. That's like the stupidest part about it. It just feels like you should have the best teams be in the playoffs, and that should be how it should be in every single sport. Like, I mean, take hockey even, right? They had like so many teams in the playoffs, but you're guaranteed that you're getting the best teams in the playoffs. You might be
Well, hold
taking
on.
half the teams, but you
Well,
know.
let me just stop it. The best teams are in the playoffs here in baseball in this system. I mean, name one team that will not make the playoffs that you would say are part of the best teams.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm saying like if the if it went like the season ended right now and you have the Dodgers versus the Cardinals in the wild card for that one game, whatever.
Playoff game, buddy. You made the playoffs. Congratulations. You
Yeah.
got to win.
Yeah.
Hey, you didn't win your division. You didn't win your division. Sorry. You got to play one more game.
Yeah,
Hopefully, you win that.
sucks.
It sucks.
Yeah, it
But here's a
sucks.
question for you: who would you rather be in this scenario? Would you rather be a 100 win team that plays one game, knowing that, hey, you're a 100 win team, you probably have a bona fide ace on that team, and you have a roster and some superstars on the team that could definitely have the capability to go out there and win you a game? Or would you rather be the team like the Cardinals that is white hot and has won 17 in a row?
I'd rather be the
What
100
position would
win team. like
you'd rather be
like
the 100 win team?
I think that the dangerous part about being that white hot team is that you have to be thinking, okay, when's it going to end? And that has to start creeping up in all the players' minds. Like, I mean, they won some of those games by having just like defensive miracles essentially where they're turning a double play on something that they shouldn't even be able to because of poor base running, right? So like when you're thinking about that, it's like those players have to be psyching themselves out a little bit.
Dude,
N-
no way.
yes.
No
No,
way.
no,
These
no. Think about
no,
how
hold
streaky
on.
the
No, 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 no,
baseball
no, no.
is.
These guys are professionals. They are competitors. Most of these guys, they grew up dominating in a sport, and they have to be feeling that I have to believe that those guys have to be feeling when they're making those crazy double plays, when all the right things are just falling their way. They feel like, oh, all the obstacles are moving out of the way. It's our time. They don't feel pressure and it's not like a pitching a perfect game standpoint where you have a crazy amount of pressure in the ninth inning. It's no, we're a team of destiny. They remind me right now of the 2007 Colorado Rockies, who won like 10 games in a row in the regular season, the regular season, to just squeak into the playoffs. And then they swept every single team. They didn't lose. They won like 25 games in a row, and they were playing super hot. That is a team that I want to be going into it. Now, they ultimately didn't win the World Series because they had like an eight game layoff because they swept the National League Championship Series so quickly. They had to wait for the American League to go 7 games, and
Mhm.
they just had too much time off, and they ended up not having a good series. But being super hot like that, I would much rather be in that position versus the 100 game winning team, because you've
Yeah,
got all the expectations, you've got the pressure.
I
You know,
I get it, but at the same time, if you look at the Dodgers team right now, or even the Giants, whatever, like let's say the Dodgers do pull off some miracle and the Giants end up faltering, whatever, at the end of the season, and they have to go play the one game against a team like the Cardinals. I mean, I'm trusting a guy like Max Scherzer to win that game. Like I just am, and I mean I think that that's kind of the beauty of what they have. Like it's like back in 2012 in the Phillies, like you didn't expect them to get knocked out because you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, they got Roy Halladay, and if Halladay's not pitching, they got Cliff Lee, and if Cliff Lee's not pitching, they got Cole Hamels. Like you're like, oh yeah, like they're gonna be fine. So I don't get as thrown off about that as like I think you might, because you probably are a little jaded from that Phillies team.
I
Um,
am.
but
That's true.
I do think that there's something to be said about the streakiness of baseball and how it like works. I mean, we talk all the time about how even like players get very streaky, and that's why we like the long season and stuff like that. I mean, teams get streaky too, and sometimes you win 16 in a row, and then you lose 5 in a row, and then you feel like garbage. And like so, at some point, that's gonna happen, and you can't win all the games. It's not possible. So just like they're going to be coming out and competing, so is everybody on the Dodgers. They fit the same bill. They're all professionals too. I mean, it's like I think there was a whole bunch of jokes earlier on in the season when Scherzer and Trey Turner did get traded to the Dodgers. Um, they like somebody, I think it was the manager of the Dodgers, patted Scherzer on the butt, and he like swore at him and was all mad at him because he's like, dude, this is my job. This is what I'm expected to do. I'm out here to play this game and perform. You don't congratulate me. Don't act like I did anything special. I'm out here. I'm performing. I'm a professional. Just lay off me. Whatever. So like, I just trust mentalities like that to win you games. So,
That's
you
fair.
know,
Okay, so last question for you on baseball, then we can wrap it up here.
okay.
All right, let's just say the current standings hold true. The Dodgers have to play the Cardinals in a one-game playoff to see who advances. Well, let's just assume now this probably isn't going to be the case, but let's just assume you have the option as the manager to start any of your starters and manage that game. How do you manage the pitching of that one game with the Dodgers roster and their rotation?
Oof, that is tough. Um, well, I got to think that the Cardinals are probably going to bring their A game, so they're going to put Wayne right in. Um, so that means that I'm going to start either Scherzer or Walker Bueller. I think that those two are just like they perform well in big games. I think that both of them like even though like you have Kershaw too, I think that him just coming back from injury, it's probably best not to have him be the one that you put in that one game scenario. Um, so I would probably start Scherzer, and then after if he gives up 2 runs, um, I'm gonna go out and see how he feels. And if he's feeling like he can still get it, I'm gonna keep him in. If he gives up a third run, I'm putting in David Price, um, and I'm gonna let David Price uh, pitch from then on until I gotta bring out my closer in Kenley, and let's see how he can finish out this game. But I think that their bullpen has been really good. Um, Even though at times they've been garbage, they've had to dig themselves out of like games where they do only get 2 innings out of their starter and stuff like that. So I do trust the bullpen, but like if I have that one game, I'm throwing Scherzer in there. I know that he's gonna go out. He's gonna do his job. Um, and I mean I got a good lineup. So
Would
I
you would you consider Scherzer and Bueller in that game, depending on when their day off, day of rest is,
I
when they
would
throw three?
I would actually probably prefer Scherzer and then Julio Urias, if I'm being quite honest. I think that Julio did it in the World Series last year. I think that he's one of those guys who will fall back from the rotation. Like when they move to a 4-man rotation, I think you're going to be seeing it as probably Scherzer, Bueller, Kershaw. Actually, Uris might be that fourth starter, honestly. With just, I mean, he's got 19 wins this year. He's got the most wins in baseball. So I just think that like if you have those two as like a 1-2 punch, you're expecting to win that game. I mean, they've come out and said many times when Uris is on the mound, we don't expect to lose. So I would say that he'd probably be the one who comes out. Uh, other than Price if I had to. But I do think that like guys who have pitched in those big games, um, there's a lot of credence there, and they should be called upon when they can. So.
Fair enough. Boy, wouldn't it be great if Trevor Bauer wasn't a scumbag?
I mean, yeah, it would be great. That would be their four rotation would be Scherzer, Bauer, Bueller, and Kershaw. Um, but I do think that there's a chance that he plays next year. But I'm pretty sure he's still suspended indefinitely for the postseason. I don't think he's allowed to play, but I think legally, um, he won the case, I think, in LA, as far as that was concerned. But I think that the MLB is still doing like their investigation or whatever. So the suspension lasts as long as that goes on, um, is what I understand. But
Okay.
I mean, I think that he's a good person? No. Have I ever thought that he's a great person? No. He's one of those cocky guys that goes out there and gets the job done. Um, do I think he's a really good baseball player? Hell yeah. Do I think that he would, you know, improve the team's pitching? Yeah. I mean, it's not even a question. I think most teams would actually, personal issues aside, would love to have him in their rotation. So, sometimes I think that pro sports are weird where people just like can disregard messed up things that have happened in people's lives just because like they're really good at sports, so they keep them in. I mean, football is filled with people who, I mean, dude, Plexico Burris shot himself in the leg.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. We're veering off. Like,
But like,
point take, point take, point
yeah,
take. All right,
Bauer, yes, if he was not a scumbag, it would be great.
it'd be much better shape. All right, very good. Is there anything else that we need to cover or talk about before we wrap this up?
I'm good if you are, man.
I think I'm good. I got everything out that I want to talk about with the Steelers and the Bengals. Nothing really saved to the Browns or anything right now. This has been nice talking to you, Drew. Just
Yeah,
you and
man.
I.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is great. I think next week we'll be back in person. Um,
I think that's the plan. I think we're all going to be
so
in town around.
yeah, we'll see if Nick can get on, and I think that next week me and you will have to get one of those punishments out of the way. So,
Yeah, we definitely will have to, unfortunately, and
so
hopefully I don't add to the list. We need to go root for the Chiefs big time this week. So go Chiefs.
yeah,
I don't
and
want
go Dodgers and go Phillies.
to go Phillies. That's right. All right, you want to do a top three?
Yeah, do you have one or do you want me to go first?
I've got one. I can ask you.
Okay, shoot.
I want to know top three Tom Hanks movies.
Okay, that's a good one. Um, I'm gonna say number 3 is Big. I love that movie. That's a really good one. Number 2 is Castaway, and number 1 is Forrest Gump for me.
Solid. Very good.
Um, all right, are you ready for this beverage question?
Oh no,
I
I am
want
a little thirsty.
I want your top 3 mixed drinks.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Okay. Top three mixed drinks. Well, see, I'm definitely a whiskey bourbon type of a drinker, so some
Okay,
of them would involve that. So I'd say definitely would say Jack and Diet Coke would be. I mean, that's a good
it's a
just
staple, right?
staple. Go to, you're at a bar. Yeah, I'll do a Jack and Diet. It's perfect. I will say in the summertime though, I really, really, really enjoy. Svedka makes this strawberry lemonade flavored vodka.
Oh, I've had
Um,
that.
it's delicious stuff, and when you mix that with unsweet iced tea, boy, that is a tasty, tasty drink that you can just fill up your big Yeti. Actually, matter of fact, this green guy right here, you fill this bad boy up, and you chill in the pool for the rest of the afternoon. You're good to go.
There you
So that'd
go.
be the second one, and then number one has to be the tried and true old fashioned.
There you go. I approve.
Good top three.
That's the show.
All right, see you guys later.
Take it easy.
All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So, given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.